other indicators. Sorry, my lord, for the pause, because my counsel was
being recorded. No, you are being recorded. We can get the transcript.
On the night 2021 December 1997, the coup plan, as you are all told during this previous sittings, will be heralded in the military. We call what we call the H hour. An H hour means the particular hour when an operation is supposed to start. That H hour was contingent upon the arrest or elimination of Major Hamza al-Mustafa. And so it was decided Mustafa should remain in the villa, not to go out, because, as I said, there were certain indicators that we didn't know whether it was a coup or counter coup or coup within a coup, and so on and so forth. So the best way to do is to take the safest precaution by not allowing Mustafa to go out of the villa. If somebody wanted to kill him, then he had better go into the villa in his office to do that, and that was almost impossible.
He remained in the villa, did he?
He remained in the villa until, at a particular time of that day, during the day, I can't remember the exact time, but that very day on the 20th, General Bamaiyi called Hamza al-Mustafa to say that he should come to his house at Fort IBB.
Where is Fort IBB?
It's where the officers, senior officers stay here in Abuja.
That's right. Go on.
That he should come to his house for some discussions before he goes back. I quickly cogitated over that proposal and came to the conclusion within my heart of hearts that that was a very dangerous proposal, because the elimination of Mustafa will spring the coup. And we were told to play along to prevent it so that we can know the detailed listen. Why should Mustafa at this juncture be told to come to Fort IBB? Supposing these boys that were planted to eliminate him, then the coup will go. So I quickly used my cell phone in the toilet, in the Flagstaff house in Fort IBB, because I took permission from General Bamaiyi to go to the toilet. And I called Mustafa. I said, look, I was there when the chief called you. You better not come. Find an excuse and tell him that the CNC has given you an assignment. Because if you come out, I cannot vouchsafe your safety. You could be shot. I thought I saw Mustafa here. I should have been sitting to hear all these things.
Please call Mustafa. Let him come back here. Please go on, General.
That was why Mustafa, in his own evidence, also corroborated that he had to send.
Now, why do you want to call him? He gave evidence. He said the same thing you are saying. Were you here when he gave evidence?
Yes, sir.
He said he was under house arrest.
Exactly.
He couldn't come out.
Yes, sir.
He couldn't go home because his death will be the signaling of the... He said so.
Exactly, sir.
Can we have a transcript? Mustafa's transcript, please.
So, my lord, I talked to Mustafa not to come. And that is why Mustafa in his evidence also said that he had to send dummies, his own vehicle that he had been using to go around to fake his movement.
Now, Mustafa did not come.
Mustafa did not go. If he had gone, he wouldn't have been here today.
Now, what's the next indicator?
The next indicator, my lord, was when we all dress up to go to lure General Adisa, because the arrangement was that after Mustafa had been arrested or eliminated, that General Bamaiyi and all of us will go to General Adisa's house to correlate the whole event before General Magashi could come and give the broadcast, and then the coup is actualized.
That was the plan.
This indicator, yes, sir. This indicator that I'm saying is that when we left the Flagstaff House on the night 2021, December 1997, we went to ABM Idi Musa's house. General Ishaya Bamaiyi and myself in his car. General Ishaya Bamaiyi was the one driving the car, a Honda. On reaching there, we met Idi Musa and we told him that it is time Adisa is arrested, because meanwhile Fadikwe and the other people had been arrested, and that we also hope by that time Dia should have also been arrested. General Ishaya Bamaiyi said no, Idi Musa should not follow us. Idi Musa is alive today, he should be called to say whether I'm telling a lie or not.
Please, can you tell the Commission who Idi Musa was?
Idi Musa was the Chief of Defense Intelligence.
The Oga Kwata of intelligence.
Exactly, the tri-service intelligence. We are the tripod, he was at the apex as the boss.
Yes.
On reaching there, as I said, General Bamaiyi refused Idi Musa to follow us. Based on what happened in the afternoon when Hamza was summoned to come to the Flagstaff House, based on the fact that AVM Idi Musa is a high chief, in fact the highest chief of defense intelligence, was not allowed to follow us, and that only two of us were to drive to go to Adisa's house, I became very, very suspicious. Hence, I called my orderly, one Sergeant Barnabas, now serving in Port Harcourt, is a military policeman. Because by that time, Major Hamza al-Mustafa, because of, we were classified at that time as what we call HRP, high-risk personalities. Because if these people knew that we were just playing along with the aim of getting the details, they would eliminate us. So Mustafa attached BGs to me, bodyguards. So I told Barnabas, my orderly, to bring those BG to follow us. So they came to Idi Musa's house and waited. Before then, this may look puerile, less childish, but it is very important to say. Before we left the Flagstaff House, pigeons.
Why don't you finish that end first from Idi Musa's house on the BGs? What happened?
Go on. Sorry, don't forget the trend of the story.
Yes.
Go on.
Yes, sir.
Then after that, you can ask him.
All right, sir.
Yeah, because this thing happened before we went to Idi Musa's house, I just escaped my memory. 3 pigeons were brought to General Ishaya Bamaiyi on the table. And now he told one Rosemary, a girlfriend of his, to prepare one for me from the kitchen and bring it to me. Again, that sent the wrong signal to me. I say, if there are 3 in front of you, why can't I have one out of it? Then the other one can be brought to supplement. However, I did not raise any alarm. I waited. They brought the pigeon. When they brought the pigeon, I said, Kai, this pigeon is so well done that I will use it in quenching the thirst in Adisa's house, because we agreed that when we go to Adisa's house, we will be entertained before we now effect his arrest, just to not to create any alarm. So they brought the pigeon. I tied it in my cellophane bag and put it in my pocket. It was when we came to AVM Idi Musa's house, I went out to go to the loo. I called my orderly Barnabas. I said, look, take this and don't eat it. Go and throw it away. We left. with General Ishaya Bamaiyi driving, I in front with him alone. But I told my boys to be following us. When he saw the ambient light of a vehicle following us, because at that time I didn't know even where we were going. It was later he said he wanted to see his brother, one barrister, Dalladi Bamaiyi, now Senator Dalladi Bamaiyi, sitting here. So when he saw the ambient light of this vehicle following us, he said, who are those? I said, they are my boys. He said, why should they follow us? We don't want to make news about the whole thing. I said, no, sir, it's dangerous because we are only two driving. We don't know the plan of deer and the rest. So the best thing to do is to have a backup. And your car can even park up. What do? Do we stand in the road and start calling for reinforcement and so on? So these boys should follow us so that if there is any problem, they should be the people to extricate us. And that is the normal procedure. You don't go in an hazard operation without a cover. At that juncture, he also now used his cell phone and called his boys to follow. So we went. Another indicator in Dalladi Bamaiyi's house, native food was brought. General Bamaiyi said that I may not be able to eat their local soup. I'm saying this with all sincerity, devoid of acrimony or polemics, but based on the truth. I felt that again, there is danger. So I told him, I said, sir, before I joined the normal modern school, I attended the Islamic school away from my family, so I am used to eating all kinds of food. So I wash my hand and say, we'll eat from the same plate. We ate, and we left to Adisa's house. When we left to Addis, I'm just on indicators, I'm not giving the details of what happened.
No, go on, go on.
Another indicator, as I said, was the coordinating conference that was to be held in Dia's house, but we were not called to attend. It was General Bamaiyi, Colonel Garba of Brigade of Guards that attended against the CNC's directive that all of us should attend. And at that time, I was instructed to come because my own cassette, it will be testified, Mustafa Ishaya, my own cassette was the best recording. It was devoid of all the noisy background. I'm not going to say how I did it because it will give some people some antidotes. That it was agreed that I should go armed with this cassette for the coordinating conference so as to have more evidence. But we were not called. We were waiting in Fort IBB when General Bamaiyi came from Lagos with Magashi General, and we said, okay, are we ready to go to Dia's house now? He said, no, they have already gone. I said, but that was not the arrangement. However, that was an indicator. Like I said, in Jos, there was this general demeanor and restive behavior of General Bamaiyi throughout the period when they were confronted between himself, Dia, General Dia, General Disa, General Olarojidu, because they were brought before the special military, special investigation panel to confront themselves. After that confrontation, there was this restive demeanor displayed in him. I wish the panel will also ask the Chief of Defense Staff to produce the cassette of that to show what I mean. Another indicator, my Lord, during our stay in Jos, during the stay of the SRP in Jos, this time around, I used to leave Jos to come back to Lagos to prepare for what I call my security awareness dialogue with officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army in order to discuss freely with them to avoid them entering into security problems, because officers and soldiers at times enter security problems unknowingly. So it behoved on us to enlighten them on what to do in case there is a security situation. I had already finished drafting my decision, so I came back to Jos to monitor the proceeding of what was going on. This very day, again it was on a Saturday, when General Bamaiyi called me in Jos to say that General Abdulsalam Abubakar has instructed him to go to security group, that there were complaints here and there. I said, fine. When do you want to go, sir? He said, the middle of the week, either Wednesday or Thursday. I said, that is beautiful. That will give me the chance, and Colonel Frank Omenka, who was the substantive CEO of that group, and his twice-who was away on pass, to be in Lagos, to prepare a brief for you, so that you are fully aware. It's just like the head of state cannot go to a particular state when the governor, the deputy governor, and maybe the Speaker of the House of Assembly are not there. I mean, who would brief him? So it was agreed that we were coming to Lagos on Monday. I quickly called Major Al-Mustafa to book a plane for us from the presidential fleet to take us to Jos on Monday. If that request on that day is now revisited from the presidential fleet file, you will see that that flight did not take place. Why? Because in the morning, as we were ready to move to the airport, telephone call from my headquarters in Lagos that the Chief of Army Staff, General Ishaya Bamaiyi, was in security group. On Monday, the day we were supposed to go and start preparing brief for him. I was not there as the Director of Military Intelligence. The substantive CEO, who knows about everything within that setup, was not there. His twice-he was not there. Only one Captain Daramola, who was just posted in. He was, in fact, a rookie as far as that place was concerned at that time. Then, the following day, PM News carried General Bamaiyi visited security group, the Gulag, and whatever, and ordered the release of detainees and so on and so forth. We said, fine. We analyzed the situation, and so that we came to the conclusion that there was a preemptive attempt to ridicule the end, to put us off guard from the ongoing investigation. My Lord, a letter was thereafter written from Army headquarters and copied all the divisions of the Nigerian Army, all the institutions, all departments, including the Nigerian headquarters at Ecomog, with information copy to the archives and other places. I'm going to tender it.
My Lord, we seek to tender that letter. What's the date of the letter?
The letter was dated 31st March 1998, and I want it back because I still have to comment.
All right. What year was that? No, you'll get the date, don't worry.
Actually, it was 40, I think.
Yeah.
40.
40. Yes. You can have it back.
It was divine intervention that prevented this letter from being taken away by the search team that came to arrest us in our houses. I thank God for that.
What was the letter about? I think it's a very
So
big...
read it. Read
Yes,
it.
it's not a long letter. I am directed to observe the arbitrary and unlawful detention of civilians in military detention facilities based on offenses that are either civil or capable of being handled by other appropriate agencies. It is also worrisome to observe that while such illegal arrests and unlawful detentions are carried out, the victims are deliberately incarcerated in the guise of endless investigation. Pathetically, serving officers, soldiers are also detained under the same circumstances. In view of the irregularity that I am directed to instruct you to release, transfer forthwith all civilian detainees cases in your custody to the appropriate civil authority or government agencies for further investigation and prosecution. Similarly, cases involving serving officers, soldiers should be promptly dispensed with to enable the court-martial where necessary rather than perpetual incarceration. Military cells are meant for the confinement of military personnel where the need arises for civilians to be detained in military cells in future, and express permission must be sought and obtained from this headquarters. I am also to state that this instruction must be given maximum compliance. Signed, E. Achibong, Major General for Chief of Army Staff. Based on this letter, on the 9th of April, I replied to the content because a document came. It is going to be in the custody for a long time to come, so I felt that it was a duty on me to reply so that tomorrow Sabo is not there, somebody will come and see the response. We responded. The letter is a bit long, but the meat of it all is, we highlighted to the Chief of Army Staff that DMI detention cells are more or less like a clearance house for other agencies because it has been the one that has been established. NDLE used to bring their personnel there for safe custody. Defense Intelligence Agency also used to bring their own detainees for safe custody. Some other parastatals, paramilitary, used to bring them for custody. And all these things we send weekly report to Army headquarters to show the level. And we also highlighted to the Chief of Army Staff that some of the detainees there were there on his own orders. We attach all the relevant annex. You must have heard about the celebrated case of an 18-year-old boy being detained there. We have the exhibit here with the signature of General Bamaiyi giving the authority for that. In it, General Magoro made a complaint. And I think it's very serious for the Commission to take note of that. During the military dispensation, there were lots and lots of abuses of privilege. General Magoro made a complaint about some civilians who duped him. This time around, I was preparing to leave for War College. In fact, I had already signed off. When General Ishaya minuted to the CO security group, Colonel Frank, and his minute was, please see if you can, no, that's not the one, sorry. That's the one he sent to the DMI later. I'm sorry, my lord, I'm just trying to fish it out. Very good. He said, Frank, we spoke. Please act. Sign. General Ishaya Bamaiyi. Frank said that he was not the DMI, so he could not act on that. So General Bamaiyi on another sheet, he said, DMI, please see if you can forward Lieutenant Colonel Frank to look into this. In the military, when a boss says, please, if you do that, it's an order. So it was investigated, and the person who defrauded General Magoro to the sum of 44,186,777 naira only was unable to refund the money. Then he now said that he wanted to go and get the money to settle the issue. What Frank told me, because as I said, I've already signed off to go to War College, was that General Bamaiyi told him that there must be somebody to stand in while the man goes to look for the money. And Frank said the only man, the only child the man came was this boy, his son. He said, grab him. Was grabbed and detained.
You mean the 18-year-old boy?
Yes, my lord. Then there were other issues. There were other detainees. There was one Engicon. Engicon is a company dwelling in oil and other issues. One Mr. Rehide was a friend to General Bamaiyi. But the information that came to us was that there was a deliberate sabotage around the security of oil installation in Nigeria, and that we should look into it. This issue was taken very serious because oil is the mainstay, and any threat to it is a threat to national security and interest. So we went into this investigation. Along the line, we discovered that rather than a threat to national to oil installation, it was indeed a fraud between two parties, one party defrauding the other. But what made us to continue with the investigation, we also found along the line the defrauding of the federal government to the tune of about 117 million naira in tax evasion. We started that investigation, including this one that was going on, because it was investigation within an investigation. Then the then Chief of Defense Staff, then Major General Abdusalam Alhaji Abubakar, called me to say that one of the parties involved is his friend, one Alhaji Kolere, that we should look at it in order to stop this investigation. I told him, I said, sir, with due respect, once an investigation starts, we normally don't stop it. It is advisable for us to conclude it. Then if there is anything that will come after, it will be on record. That Alhaji Kolere followed me to Nikon when we came for meeting in Abuja. That time I hadn't got a house here in Abuja. To my room. How did he even come to know about my whereabouts? It remained a dream until later when I knew how. Because we used to enter Nikon Hotel with pseudonyms, for obvious reasons. Because when we come for meeting, we carry classified documents. If I give my actual name, somebody may bump into my room and carry them away. So we give pseudonyms. The man knocked at my door and I opened and I saw him. I said, whom do you want? He said he is Alhaji Muhammad Kolere. He was sent by the CDS, Abdusalam Abubakar, to come and discuss with me about this Engicon issue. I said, how did you come to know about my issue? I said, anyway, what is it? He said, look, Colonel, then I was a colonel. I think we can make some deal. Why don't you people take 50% of the total sum and allow us to go away with the 50% of the total sum. That translated up to about almost 49 to 50 million dollars, naira. I told him to sit down when he came in. When he started this narration, I said, Alhaji, stand up. I told him, I said, I thought you are a gentleman. I only gave you the respect because you came from a boss. And henceforth, for your information and in your own interest, never you come to where I live. Every transaction you want to hold with me, hold it in the office. I chased him out of my hotel room and I had to change the hotel room. That time, AVM Idi Musa had secured his accommodation in Fort Ibibi, so I begged him to stay in his place because I don't know what will follow. He could use the same trick to locate where I was. Then later on I called General Salam Abubakar. I said, sir, this man came and I don't know even how he got to my room. Then he said, no, that he was the one who gave him the room because when we talked, his cellular battery was weak, so he asked me the room where I was staying in Nikon so that he could call me back when he reaches home. So that is how Alhaji Kolere got to know where I was staying. This Njikon issue was one of the issues that General Bamaiyi tasked us, and it was carried out.
How was it concluded?
My Lord, as I told you, I was about to go to War College at that time. I left for War College. It was concluded with the return of the evaded tax money from all the parties to the government coffers.
How much was that?
I don't know if I can get my bag there. Maybe I put it there. I have the photocopy of the check and the letter of commendation. A minute, my lord. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, my lord, I have the documents here. The amount involved in this particular payment was to the tune of in two batches. One was to the tune of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 14,636,442.3, and the other one was 22 million again 900 and 509 naira. And this money was returned. We tender it first before I read the whole thing.
All right. My Lord, what about the letter of commendation?
It's also here, my lord.
Put them all together. Pardon, my lord?
Want to tender that form?
Oh, yes, sir. The receipts for the payments of tax to the federal government and the letter of commendation.
41. Exhibit 41.
My Lord, this letter was from West African Oilfield Services, addressed to the Directorate of Military Intelligence on the 1st of April 1996. Papa, attention Lieutenant Colonel Frank Omenka, because he was the one handling the matter. Payment of value added tax, VAT. Reference your letter dated 29/03/96, and please find following attached bank drafts. First bank draft to the tune of 22,920,509.76 naira. First bank draft again, FA 213,632 for the tune of 14,636,442.3 million. The payments were done in bits and pieces. This is the only one that I can lay my hand on. As I said, my house was ransacked. Documents were carted away. Again, God saved me that some of these things were still around. While the second draft is for the full payment and final VAT liability by WAOS, I don't know what it means, still stands. This payment covers both Naira and dollar invoice, number 0279 and 0279A, for all the payments received so far, and dollar conversion worked at 84 Naira to the dollar at that time. Whose liability is confirmed and accepted by DEC NGCON as full and final VAT payment accumulated to date. While thanking you for your full cooperation, we await further directives. Thank you. Predicated on this letter, the photocopy of the checks are attached here. I caused my Colonel Coordination, a staff officer under me, to write a letter of commendation to security group for a job well done. And the letter reads, letter of commendation, recovery of federal government revenue value added tax, VAT. I'm directed to profoundly commend you for the effort of recovering the 3 bank drafts of VAT totaling the sum of 43,027,625.67. This achievement is no doubt commendable, especially at this hard time of the waging war against tax evaders. Please don't relent in your effort, and more grease to your elbow. God bless and well done. Signed, A.A. Ahmad, Lieutenant Colonel for the Director of Military Intelligence.
Now, General, if you...
I have not finished, my Lord.
Go ahead.
Based on this letter which we wrote as a reply to General Bamaiyi, like I told you, DMI was a clearing house, and some agencies used to send their detainees to us. I could not possibly release their detainees without responding to the letter. So I wrote a reply to General Bamaiyi to say that the tune of their letter was false to us, that we did not on our own arrest all these civilians as it was purported. Some of the detainees were on his own behest, some are from other agencies. So when we wrote attaching all the relevant documents and everything sent to his office, it was taken by General Achibong because he was the signatory to that letter that came to us. Achibong called me on the telephone. He said, Ibrahim, I have seen your reply. This one is above me. Oh. So me, I go pass him as it is. It's above my power. I was only told to write you this letter. Some days after, I cannot remember precisely, General Bamaiyi called Idi Musa and myself to his office to express his displeasure over the way and manner we responded to that letter, attaching some documents and making a very large list of addresses I told him, I said, sir, you are later also left the shores of this country to Ekomog. These addresses we put were not extraordinary. They were security agencies, the NDLA, NIA, SSS, DIA, who also have some of the detainees that were brought to us for safe custody. They were in fact the people in charge of their feeding. If the army headquarters can be honest enough to confirm, we have not been getting money for the feeding of other detainees. The related agencies that brought them paid for their feeding. The only one we get from army headquarters are those of the military nature. And it is also interesting to note here, at this material time, a letter came from the office of the Chief of Army Staff to say that there was some cult, there was cultism rearing into the military. And information had that some officers and soldiers were involved in this cultism. That formed part of General Bamaiyi's address to troops when we went around the formation to warn officers and soldiers to desist from cultism. He even recalled to them that during the Murtala regime, some officers were retired from the army because of involvement in cultism. These groups were arrested and also detained in the DMI for investigation. Investigation couldn't conclude in time because of this other 97 coup issue that was coming. And my personnel were dissipated. They were taken to jails. They were engaged with security distance. And you know, a coup situation, we have what we call a pothole part. And that is, first of all, you get the immediate suspects, then go around again to see if there were other elements, sympathizers and so on and so forth, and then come back for the overall distance. So that caused a lot of dissipation, and that is why Bashir Mormoni in his testimony said that he was drafted from 9 Brigade, although he is an in personnel, but he was drafted from 9 Brigade to go and beef off the security in Jos. So these cult people were also among the people General Bamaiyi saw when he visited security group. Let me not digress or derail. Coming to his discussion with us in his office regarding this letter we wrote, I told him we had to copy all these addresses because they send their own detainees. We cannot possibly release their detainees without their clearance. More so, some of the detainees they sent to us are recidivists. They had been arrested over and over again for drug-related issues and other infractions all over. And not only that, even if they had not committed such crimes, we are not the people who put them there. We cannot release what we didn't arrest. So his response was that somebody told him that our response to that his letter was as a result of his visit to security group as a revenge. I told him, sir, you are the Chief of Army Staff. I'm under you. My organization is under you. How can we revenge? So the visit of the security group is now an issue of revenge. You revenge something when it is bad. You don't revenge something when it is good, except if you are going to talk like Idi Amin when he said to the Queen that I'm going to retaliate your visit when you come to Uganda. But otherwise, revenge means you are hurt and then you revenge.
Now, General, let's go back to the point you want to make with Exhibit 40 is that Exhibit 40 was written as a diversionary tactic to shift your attention away from what was happening in Jos. Is that right?
Yes, my lord. In fact, it wasn't a diversion, it was real tactics to divert our attention. Although it can be diversionary, because diversionary has the capability of being reality. It has to have the ingredients of reality to be diversionary. In military tactics, when we say I'm going along this axis to the right to attack the enemy. I have a diversionary attack in this line. I don't go with blank ammunition. I go with full-fledged complement of a war arsenals. So diversionary in this classical sense, yes, it has the capability of turning to real.
Now, General, do you have any more indicators? You had indicated to the Commission that the list of areas you concerned as, you referred to as indicators, were those areas which you believe made the coup, put the coup in a different perspective as what it actually was made to look like?
Yes, my lord. Based on all these happenings, when investigations and trials were going on, myself and some of my security officers in Jos, we used to have what we call morning prayers before we go to the SIP and evening prayers after the SIP to discuss the situation of the security as per that period. Then the conclusion was that all these indicators were frightening and that there was a need to inform the head of state about the need to try also General Bamaiyi in that coup of 1997 based on all these indicators. Because in the first place, we were with him in Enugu. He did not tell me as his immediate chief security chap about an impending coup until he, according to his distance, which I don't blame him anyway, but he told some other junior officers about what he was going.
Did you inform the head of state?
I wrote a letter to the head of state, comprehensive, to say in the interest of fairness, in the interest of justice, General Bamaiyi also has a case to answer in this coup. That letter was personally delivered by me to the late head of state in his office, and that letter remained in his office until he died.
Now, you do not know, he did not take any action on the letter before his death?
He did not, because he would have called us to say, okay, I've seen your letter, this is the line of action or whatever.
Now, did you...
Sorry, what about a copy of the letter? Do you have a personal copy?
Sir, in a situation like that, the Chief of Army Staff is the main issue. I had to use a dedicated typist, the one I trust, to collect both the carbon, the ribbon, the draft of that letter from him. I stood by him to type, and I collected everything. Like I said, I don't want to be bringing this example, but I have to in order to make a point. When my house was ransacked, a lot of documents were carted away. And the interest of those people who came to search my house were documents that bore the office or the name of Chief of Army Staff or whatever, and general documents that they felt it was necessary. My Lord, I have not finished these indicators.
Okay, go back there.
One of the indicators was that in 1995, when there was this 95 coup plot issue, I was not the DMI when the whole thing started. I only became the DMI almost towards the tail end of the investigation. And that is why yesterday I was even surprised that Beko mentioned my name instead of him to pour in comments from my humanitarian angle of him, because I did it at my own risk. Major Mustafa is here. When I did it, I quickly told Mustafa that this is what happened. I had, because the man is not feeling fine and so on. Mustafa laughed. He said he had already been informed, and that I was quite in order in doing so. I was surprised yesterday, instead of him to pour in comment, well, you asked him, and he cleared me. He was the only one who came to say about this 95 coup issue. In 95, for the first time in the history of Nigerian army, a security awareness dialogue was initiated. With all sense of humility, I initiated it because I cogitated to see that a lot of coup and attempted coups had been taking place, and in the end, when you arrest some officers, the story you hear is that of ignorance in the involvement. So I said, okay, I will take a security awareness drive to all the formation in the Nigerian army so that officers and men will be enlightened. Because some of them will be afraid to report a coup d'etat because they feel that their boss may be involved, and so they keep it to themselves and they become guilty of concealment. So we had a dialogue with them generally. That was 95. It was then General Kazir, who was the Chief of Army Staff. He funded the publication of those pamphlets. I call it Security Awareness Dialogue 1. If the Commission wants it, I can bring the copies tomorrow. Then in 1997, when this coup issue came again, I wrote to the Army headquarters, giving an estimate of about 800 and something thousand naira to publish, to make publication about the second stanza, bringing the lessons of the first and the relapsing of officers into some of the security problems, so that I could go again for the second bit of the security awareness dialogue. The reply I got from the Chief of Operation that time was that the Chief of Army Staff had directed that I must send my draft of the security awareness dialogue before money could be released. I said, that is not usual. The first time I did this, nobody asked me for a draft. This time around, I'm being asked for a draft. Because I have all these indicators at the back of my mind. I said maybe he wanted to see if I could involve him or whether I will implicate him in the security awareness drive. I was not going to press further for the money. I borrowed money from somebody, a friend of mine, made the publications and went on the security awareness drive. With all these indicators, you don't require the clairvoyance of Nostradamus or the clairvoyance of any seer to know that there is something cooking. So, my Lord, as I said, I wrote this letter to the late CNC, and there was, in the letter, in fact, I remember some of the contents. In the letter, we said that that report that Dia initiated the coup or something, there is something to be very circumspect about it. Our analysis in the long run was that because Dia himself confirmed that he had only a one-to-one talk with General Bamaiyi, and that he is requesting, if General Bamaiyi was very busy taping him, he should bring the cassette of their first discussion. That cassette was nowhere to be found. So, we came to the conclusion that when General Dia asked General Aziza about the coup plot, that Dia was only acting based on the assurance given to him by General Bamaiyi that all the GOCs and their equivalents were fully aware. And that may have sent some chill in the spine of General Bamaiyi to say if Dia could open his mouth to start talking to commanders, how many more would he have contacted? And that is why the time lag of 3 weeks had to be before he reported the matter, when it became apparent that Dia may have talked to other people. And also it is very important to note, it is very instructive indeed to note, that all the GOCs were said to have been informed except GOC 1 div. Why was here an exception? Instead, some officers, staff officers in the div were informed. Their GOC was not informed. It was in Enugu we had to insist, General Bamaiyi is here, that he should tell GOC 1 div about this issue. Let it not be in isolation. Then he confirmed later, according to him, that the CNC said he should also tell Jan Sarki Mukhtar. If Jan Sarki Mukhtar is brought before this commission, he will say it that he has not been informed until that very day in Enugu. So that is what caused this delay. And indeed, I want to say maybe the loyalty in Aziza saved the situation, because when Dia talked to him, he quickly rushed to General Bamaiyi to report, and then the game was seen to be up. And so within that period, the CNC was told after 3 weeks.
Well, General, yeah, General, these what you call the indicators to the effect that the coup which Dia referred to had more to it than met the eye.
Exactly, my lord. The coup was real. There was no doubt about that.
Now,
but the fact that there was people who were actually involved in the initial decision, it was real. It was only later when this, like I said, when Dia talked to Aziza, the environment became restive. Dia must have told other people, the thing is bound to leak. Analysis, yes, it could leak. So report to the CNC.
Now, General Dia keeps insisting that the coup was a phantom coup. And of course, you've said it was for real.
It was for real, my lord. Because weapons were procured. In fact, some deployments were done to eliminate Hamza to signal the coup issue. One was the chloroform procured to send him to the swoon so that he could faint, and then he's taken either to be wasted or to be arrested, whatever the case, whichever was more convenient.
General Dia also, in his testimony, alleged that the arrests and trials was targeted at a particular tribe. That's his tribe of the Yoruba tribe. What comments do you have about that?
It was an unfortunate comment, my lord. It was not targeted at any ethnic group, as the manifestation of the whole detail came during the sitting of this panel. If anybody in the Nigerian army today, or even in other spheres of endeavor, claims that his ethnic nationalities are being harassed, is our fault. The fault of everybody that is involved. That is what I mean. As a military officer, I want my Batman to be from the same area with me because of insecurity. He's the one that I will trust. I want my cook to be from the same locality with me because food poisoning is there. My driver to be in the same locality, and so on and so forth. So if I enter into security problem, those boys are key witnesses because they know my idiosyncrasy, they know my itinerary, they know everything about me. So if, in fact, an intrepid investigator should be very willing to use them to extract information about me. So it's only coincidental that at that material time, the Yorubas were more. And indeed, I want that cassette, which General Olarewaju testified before the SIP and the SMT. He said in that video cassette, that all entreaties by General Dia to get him involved into that coup, he was very circumspect until he was told that the securities are involved, and that Dia also whipped some tribal sentiments on him. He said, ah, now we now, so why don't you join the dissent? It's unfortunate.
Now, General Dia complained a lot about his handcuffs and leg chains. This question was posed to Major Bashir Mormoni. Bashir Mormoni is a relatively junior officer to you. Now, what is the significance of handcuffs and leg cuffs and or no handcuffs, no leg cuffs in a coup d'etat or in a suspected coup d'etat?
The significance, my lord, is to avert escape, because coup is a serious business that is the penalty of which is death by firing squad. If you don't secure a suspected coup plotter, he could run away. There was the case in 1985 versus coup, when he attempted, because he was given a gentleman treatment to stay in a guest house, but they locked the door. He attempted to escape through the hole of the air conditioner. He removed the air conditioner. It was only the, what do you call, the burglary proof became an encumbrance for his escape bid. And that is why subsequently Vaza was even appearing before the tribunal in handcuffs to prevent him from escape. Because if he escapes, then the whole thing will be scuttled. So putting handcuffs on coup suspects and leg chains, like Memori has said, is also to prevent them from harming themselves. Because in that prison that day, Adisa was even shouting, I don't know, maybe Bashir forgot, he was shouting that he would rather kill himself than to face this disgrace. So if he was not chained, he may have actualized his this, because he knows the penalty is death, and he knew that he was truly involved.
Now, can we move to the next stage of your testimony?
Yes, my lord. Another area of concern during the 97 coup d'etat is what I want to highlight. Like I said, I'm doing it with due respect to General Bamaiyi, that I'm not doing it with acrimony or polemics, but based on the truth. Because I don't fear human beings. I don't fear somebody who takes life, but I fear people, a person who takes and gives life, and that is God. So I'm saying it with all sense of humility and respect, that there were certain indicators secondary to what I say, but these ones are not indicators as such, but a phenomenon in the Nigerian army that has destroyed the career of so many officers, that the taxpayers' monies were used in training them. It's a waste to the national reservoir as far as defense is concerned. It has not been the only time when it happened in 97. It could have happened, and indeed it did happen, because of what I saw in 97 convinced me that it happened in previous coups too. But why I'm particular about 97 is because I was the DMI from the time the coup news emanated up to the time of arrest, investigation, and trial. So I will give those examples to show how innocent officers and men of the Nigerian army lost their career based on frivolous allegations, frivolous insinuations, and so on and so forth. I will start.
Just give a few of them, not too many.
Yes, my lord. But in giving the few, I would like to also enumerate certain disciplines under.
Oh yes, go ahead.
There is one then Colonel Marwa, who was the defense advisor to Nigeria in the United Nations.
United States.
United Nations, not United States, my lord, because there are two defense attaches. One is to the Embassy of Nigeria, one is to the United Nations, which happen also to be the headquarters in the United States of America. He was there, because I have to link back to 95 a bit before I delve into this.
Go on.
He was there in the United States of America when General Obasanjo and the rest were arrested in 1995. So he came to the country. We met in Abuja. He briefed me in Nikon Nuga. He said, look, there is a lot of hue and cry from the international community if these coup convicts were to be executed.
Who were those?
The 1995 coup convicts. If they were to be executed, there would have been hue and cry in the international community, because I told you he's coming from United States of America, being the defense advisor in United Nations headquarters. So he was in a better position to hear what the international community was reacting. Then we had a chat with him. I said, okay, why don't you go and brief the head of state about it? Major Hamza al-Mustafa is here and is alive. That is why at times when so many blame...
Go ahead, General.
Anyway, we now booked an appointment to see the CNC. Mustafa, confirmed that the CNC will see us on Friday after mosque. So we went with Marwa. Marwa gave his own scenario, including video clips of the demonstrations and so on and so forth, and the reactions from the from the international community and so on and so forth, to tell General Abacha that, sir, for the first time in the history of this country, let there be no execution. When he finished his testimony, I now gave also the local scenario that also in Nigeria there are a lot of hues and cries about all this execution, that I concur with Marwa. Let the sentences be commuted. That will bring credibility to the government. Before we even saw the CNC, we had discussion with Hamza, who also put his own input into the case of the commuter. So he agreed with us, hook, line, and sinker, that there should be a change, and that will bring credibility to the government of Johnson Abacha. At least for a change, let there be commuter. So the head of state said, okay, we should go and meet General Bamaiyi, General Aziza, General Gumel, and some others that I can't remember, and I'm sorry because it's a long time, 95, in Lagos, to put this case across so that they could now tell other members of the PRC, so that when the PRC convened, there should be that overall decision not to commute, because it was not going to be morally wrong for him as the head of state. I mean, it was going to be morally wrong for him as the head of state to tell members of the PRC about this. Then it will amount to no deliberation, because nobody will oppose. We left Abuja. Again, we called Al-Mustafa to give us a plan, to detail a plan for us, because we are carrying again sensitive documents. All our movements, honestly, we were avoiding the commercial flight for obvious reasons. So we now flew to Lagos. Before then, we telephoned General Bamaiyi, who was then the LGC commander. This time around, General Kazir was a suspect in that coup, because one of the suspects said that Kazir, he told Kazir when he was his GOC in one div about the plan to overthrow the government, and Kazir did not report. So for obvious reason, we couldn't have discussed with Kazir, although he was a member of the PRC and the chief of army staff. So it was Bamaiyi that we were told to go and meet to tell other PRC members. We called him and said, okay, sir, we are coming. There is a special message from the CNC. Let us meet on Saturday at your convenience. He said, okay, as soon as we arrive, he will not go out. He will wait for us in his house at number 5A, if I can remember very well, Okotiebo. That's the flag house of the Lagos Garrison Commander. On arrival at Lagos Airport, we drove straight, without going anywhere, straight to his house. Jan Marwa is today the chairman of DICON and chairman of Albarka Airlines. He can be called to testify if I'm telling lies. We went there. They gave us a listening ear. Marwa started. He did all the brief as he gave to the CNC, an analysis, and I also concurred by giving the local dimension. Again, General Bamaiyi stood up. He said, as far as he was concerned, that this coup piece will be executed, that we have only succeeded in wasting his weekend. Mind you, my lord, we were in his house, so he got up to go, so we had no business staying. So we also left. The cassette Major Al-Mustafa rendered to the panel in Lagos carried the voice of General Ishaya Bamaiyi during the PRC meeting, and that of General Abubakar, vehemently saying that the coup piece must be executed. I don't know whether the panel had the time to listen to that cassette. I'm not probing the panel, but I'm just saying that there is the need, if it hadn't been viewed, to be viewed, to corroborate what I'm saying. So we reported back to the lessee and see our encounter. He said, okay, we know some of the PRC members ourselves, we should just talk to them. So we talked to them one on one. Idem of the Air Force is alive today. I think he left as Air Commodore. We contacted him, he jumped, he said, you are in my mind. Idem's voice was in that cassette of the PRC. He was vehement against the firing squad. That was the beginning of Marwa's problem. Not long after, in 1996, when General Ishaya became the chief of army staff, there was a need to change some administrators. Proposals were all compiled, and CNC normally have his own set of candidates that he has in mind that should be administrators. So he put the name of then Colonel Marwa to be the administrator of Lagos State. I don't know whether the CNC may have discussed with Hamza, but he told me in confidence that he wanted Marwa because Marwa's performance in both the United Nations and in Borno State was something that his administration will want to tap. General Bamaiyi opposed the appointment of Colonel Marwa then vehemently. He adduced reasons as Marwa was, before he was made administrator, governor, military governor of Borno State, he was a deputy defense advisor in that same office in the United Nations. When he left the military governorship, he was posted back there as the substantive defense advisor. Why is he now being brought again to be military administrator in Lagos? That I should write a security report to that effect, that people will not be happy if Marwa was appointed. It will look as if he was the only favored military officer in the Nigerian army. With due respect, I told General Bamaiyi, I said, you and me cannot do that because the man at the apex has said this is his choice. It will amount to disloyalty if we now go and start writing a report against the candidate of the CNC as far as this administratorship is concerned. That I'm advising that we let it go. He saw reason with me and said, okay, fine. Marwa was thus appointed military administrator of Lagos State. Then came the bombing attacks on Marwa. Ab initio, no sooner had he taken over as the military administrator of Lagos, then bellicosity from all angles were brought to bear on him, including the bomb attack, which is a common knowledge of every Nigerian at home and in diaspora. As a result of that bomb attack, Marwa was then, those of you who know Lagos very well, was living at Ikeja government house. And that house was very, very close to the main road. He felt that his security was in danger. So he applied to the late head of state to move from Ikeja to the Marina Lagos State House, where he can have better security. Better security in the sense there was contiguity between the Lagos State House Marina and that of the Chief of Army Staff. And you must be a fool to come and attack a Chief of Army Staff house because it's fortified. So Marwa wanted to come nearer, at least with his small complement of his guards, to be in the same general area to have some safety. Again, there was opposition from the same General Bamaiyi as the Chief of Army Staff. In fact, the late head of state said Marwa should go ahead and move to the Marina State House. That did not go down well with General Bamaiyi. Many officers of the Nigerian Army know this fact. And I'm ready, my lord, to face firing squad today if we go around the unit to sample all these feelings about the bellicosity being visited on this board because of these bomb attacks. My lord, Marwa moved, and there was a second bomb attack on him. when he was going to the office. It remained up till today that General Bamaiyi was the only service chief, the only senior military officer that did not commiserate with Marwa over those issues, despite the fact that they were contiguous neighbors. In both the religions, not even in religion, let me not talk about religion, even in common sense, so he returned him. When we were arrested after my retirement and detained, a special investigation panel was set, and Marwa was invited to attend that panel willy-nilly. Somehow along the line, he did not appear. How did I know that he was summoned and he did not appear? It's through General Bamaiyi's submission to this panel in Lagos, the executive summary of the Defense and Security Council meeting that stated that Marwa's career should be reviewed for refusing to appear before the panel that investigated, or that he must be among the people who wrote those allegations against General Bamaiyi. There was also another issue of a bullet attack on the bedroom of the wife of General Ishaya Bamaiyi. General Bamaiyi called me to say that his wife's bedroom was shot at. He wanted...
Shot at with a gun?
With a bullet, a bullet shot, that it didn't drop from the ceiling, and that we should investigate. We went for the investigation because in the Directorate of Military Intelligence, we have all sorts of people. We have the artisans, we have carpenters, we have tailors. In fact, we have swear sellers, if you must know. To go and investigate that issue. When they went, they climbed up. There was no point of entry of the bullet. There was only point of exit. And the conclusion they brought was that they are suspecting some kind of foul play, in the sense that it will only be that there were some angels or some celestial being in the ceiling that shot, not from outside. So in order not to make public all this writing of the report, I went in absolute confidence to General Bamaiyi to say, sir, let us leave this matter, because it is capable of ridiculing the whole exercise. Since there was no point of entry, only point of exit, people will raise dust. He wasn't happy with that. He even told people that I scuttled the investigation. When I saw that, that again, with the benefit of hindsight, gives me another indicator. And that indicator was that there was the plan to make that atmosphere incongenial, because Marwa had moved into the State House. So there is the need to make the atmosphere incongenial, to have an alibi. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that is the word. To have an alibi that General Bamaiyi's wife was shot at, and so that if Marwa in the end was attacked, it will be attributed to the incongeniality of the surrounding. This, with all sense of responsibility, I call Marwa and say, be careful. Because there is no duplicate to life. As if that was not enough, there was a tall building overlooking the complex, both the Flagstaff House and the Marina Government House. Soldiers were put on the high building ostensibly as a result of the bullet mark being shot. And I felt that that was not on. It was supposed to be a collective responsibility, just like we have the joint border patrol. So Marwa was advised to also send his own troops there, to the same building, since they are all sharing the same complex. At least if there is anything, his own troops will also be in a position to know if there is any plan as a safeguard. After some time, Marwa's troops were chased out of that building. So he came and said that his soldiers were driven back. I said, the point has been made. I gave him an example during the Second World War when British forces were making some dummy lane of tanks with wooden tanks along the line to show that they were attacking a particular axis. The German intelligence reported that they were wooden tanks. So the German Air Force said, no problem. They now got airborne and dropped wooden bombs on the wooden tanks to show them that we know. So I told Marwa with all pleasure he should withdraw his troops. The point has been made.
General, you can save some time by rushing through the other examples.
Okay, then we come to the issue of
saving some time.
Pardon, my lord.
Go on.
My lord.
I thought your lordships are closing at 4 o'clock.
My lord, as if that was not enough, Marwa sent signal during Salah for formations within Lagos because by the setup, Marwa was the chief security of Lagos State, being the military administrator. So in order to show appreciation to the Operation Sweep and other formations there, he sent a signal, duly signed, official, to invite representatives from various departments, various organizations of military in Lagos to come and have a Salah gap shop, some kind of chop and informal interaction. That was misconstrued to say that Marwa was recruiting people with a view to overthrow the government because he was very ambitious. That is what dragged Marwa into the SIP in Jos. In 1997, he appeared to testify. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately for Marwa, General Aziza was similarly invited to attend that dinner or that eating, and he was there. So it couldn't have been a clandestine arrangement. There was a letter. I was invited, but I could not attend because my children kept on crying that I have never taken them to the village. So that during that Salah, I said, I will take you home. We all have our Salah at home. So I went and I sent my MA, Lieutenant Colonel Yaka, said to represent me, and he represented me. And of course, Marwa, after the party, he gave them small welfare. Then my MA brought the welfare. He said that he was representing me, so he is bringing the welfare. I said, no, you are the one who attended. Go ahead and use it. Then came during the same 97 coup, another officer would have lost his career, and that was Colonel P.A.M. Oga, the military administrator of Kwara State then. How was he to lose his career? During that presentation, the presentation was segmented into various parts. First, with the military with the PRC, to tell them about how the coup plot was unfolded and how it was botched. Secondly, the Council of Ministers. Thirdly, the Council of State, which now included the military administrators. So when they came to be briefed, and at each given time, members of the PRC, especially the service chiefs, that is the members of the National Defense and Security Council, which comprise the service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, the CNC and the CGS, were also in attendance. So after that, General Bamaiyi called me. That is why I'm very sad today that Colonel Frank is not in this country, at least to give some insight to some of these allegations, but I'm not defending him. What I'm trying to say is, General Bamaiyi called me and Colonel Frank. Major Mustafa is here again, because he said that there must be investigation about Oga, that he could be involved in that coup. We say, what is the barometer? He said Oga, Colonel Oga, was insisting to know whether the CNC was to attend the conference in Enugu. So what was his interest in the attendance? Because in Enugu, if the CNC had attended, he would have been wasted there and the coup would have been heralded. And so Oga must know about the coup. I say, well, I'm not trying to refuse the investigation, but let us look at it from a different angle. During the military regime and even during the civilian democratic dispensation now, wherever the head of state or the president is going, some contiguous governors used to go there to lend support to their counterparts by presenting themselves there and so on. So I saw no reason, I saw no fault if Oga was asking if the CNC would attend. Maybe the aim was for him to also attend. But be that as it may, we ask Hamza al-Mustafa, because you cannot use any office in the villa without clearance. Yes, and it's very good that way. So we had one office given to us. We called Pam Oga, because we didn't want to make the thing to be blown. I mean, administrators being dragged here and there. We wanted to know if there had been any serious involvement. Then a letter would have been written by the convening authority to arrest them. We interviewed Oga. Oga came to tell us the same perception we had, that he only wanted to be there. His commander-in-chief was there. He was an administrator, to also be part and parcel of the opening address. More so, at the opening day, there were some issues that had been discussed that cannot be discussed in the subsequent meetings. So we said, okay, that is no big deal. Let us let it off. Then Pam Oga said that he is suspecting that General Bamaiyi is very annoyed with him for obvious reasons. We said, what were the reasons? He said, can you recall, during the tour of the formation, when you came to Ilorin, I took you people around, I'm quoting Oga now, I took you around to show you some smuggled vehicles that were carrying contrabands and some arms and ammunition? I said yes. And could you recall also General Bamaiyi asked what happened to the report? I said yes. You told him that you have sent it to GSU. Immediately, his countenance changed. Then Oga now told us in confidence that the reason why he was being dragged into this coup was because the vehicle and the contraband belonged to General Bamaiyi's friend. He wanted it to be amicably settled, but now that it has gone to GSQ, it was going to be difficult. Then, within my heart of heart, I was convinced, because it also happened when I was the General Staff Officer Grade 1 in 2 Div. Ibadan. Colonel Lambert Ehenacho is alive today. He was my immediate boss as the Colonel General Staff of that division. During that time, there was a letter from the Supreme Military Council, in fact, then, that had not been invalidated, that security agencies that are operating in the border are empowered to impound smuggled items, vehicles, and the goods. I remember very well, at that time, General Bamaiyi told me that the vehicle belonged to his friend, and that friend of his has convinced him that they came to hire the vehicle. He didn't know what it was being used for. I said, okay, in fairness, that was logical, because somebody can come and borrow your implement, you wouldn't know, especially a commercial vehicle dealer. Somebody can hire the vehicle, no big deal. So I told Lambert Ehenacho that this is the situation. Ehenacho said, okay, we have a GOC, General Dogonyaro, he's alive today. So we went and secured the permission to release the vehicle to the owner. When that vehicle was released, the man left. General Bamaiyi called me in my office to say, then he was the commander, 9 Brigade in Ikeja. He said, has the man come? I said, yeah, he has come, and we released the vehicle for him. And he said, how much did he give me? I said, me? For what? He said, I should have collected some money from the man, not for free. I said, no, sir. It will touch on my integrity. You send the man. Will you be happy to hear that I didn't extort money if I was an extorter? So the man came back after 2 days to say that when Bamaiyi said I should have collected the money. Then the man came back to say that, oh guy, you see, now thank you very much for releasing the vehicle. You see the goods also, I have interest. If you can release it for me, there is something small for you. I chased the man out of my office. Then I knew that the aim of asking if he has given me money was to mortgage my integrity, so that when he comes to collect the goods, I would have been enslaved to do so. So when Oga was saying this, my mind reflected. I said, okay, we should tell Oga to go back to his beat. There was no involvement as at that time. Adewusi, Navy captain, the military administrator of Lagos State, Akwa Ibom State, was similarly ordered to be investigated by General Bamaiyi about the coup of 1997. Again, we went around and looked at it, there was no involvement, and so on and so forth. Then the officer said, was it because he did not give welfare to the team that came, because he was hearing stories here and there, that there were complaints that he was the only military administrator that did not give welfare to the team that visited during the Chief of Army Staff Conference. We said, no, that is your decision, just go to your beat. Then, General Bamaiyi also told me within that period that there is a need to invite Brigadier General Ahmed Abdullahi, retired, former Director of Military Intelligence, former GOC 1DIF. I said, on what premise? He said that somebody told him that Abdullahi went to a Malam to say that that Malam should pray for him to avert something that was serious to happen to him, because there is something cooking in the country, and so that he could not be involved. Based on that, he should be interrogated. I said, okay, fine, let's have the name of the Malam. We first of all hear from him. What was it? Because some of these Malams, they are a real source of intelligence. I'm telling you this. Because some of them that do come to report to us certain information, we give them tasking. If somebody say he wanted to set a coup, you say, okay, we will pray for him, but bring the list of the people so that he can pray over the list. And then the success will be guaranteed. With that, we were getting a lot of information. So we wanted the name of the Malam, but he couldn't bring it. So we didn't invite General Abdullahi. The arrest of Daniel Akintonde. Daniel Akintonde was relieved as a military administrator of Ogun State during the reshufflement. He was posted back to the Nigerian Army Corps of Intelligence, and I deployed him as the acting commandant of the Nigerian Army School of Signal because of his training and exposure. He was an asset to the interdiscipline. So he could be in school whereby he can now make his knowledge to be impacted on the younger ones growing. To my surprise, when the list of the arrested people in Lagos were forwarded to General Islam Abubakar for announcement, I saw Dan Akintonde. I said, could this officer actually have been involved? In my mind, I was soliloquizing, because if I had voiced it out, it would have been a different thing with me too. So I soliloquized and said, no. Could it be, could it not be? I said, well, human being, you cannot vouchsafe for anybody. You can't vouchsafe, even for a baby. Because when the mother is backing it, she doesn't know what he is doing at the back. I said, fine, fair enough. When he was brought before the SIP, he was exonerated. There was no basis. And he said that he is afraid that there must be some connivance because, again, as military administrators, he was accused of not giving welfare to senior officers. So that may have been the reason for his being coined in the dissent. General Maazu. General Maazu was the administrator of Sokoto State, redeployed to Brigade of Guards. During the gathering of information about the coup, General Bamaiyi was very emphatic that General Maazu should not be informed because he doesn't trust him. He had no grip of his soldiers. There was even a time he said we should write the presidency to say General Maazu is not pulling his weight, or should be changed. And I said, he is working directly under the presidency, although under the army. If there is any need for that, the presidency should be the people to raise observation to you, the Chief of Army Staff, without even coining any report. I mean, how can you substantiate? We don't write frivolous reports on officers because in the hereafter we have another judgment. So this is mundane, transient world. Whatever one will do it truthfully. On my taking over as the DMI, that was the sermon given to me by Sarki Mukhtar, that look, Sabo, you are coming into this intricate work which has no second-hand value. As a result, whatever you do is to have the fear of the Almighty God in you, in whatever you do. Tell the truth, do the right thing, commit mistakes as a human being, but don't do anything that is against the dictate of your conscience. That reinforced my earlier belief, and I carried it along. So, again, that one we didn't do. General Maazu is alive today. He could be called upon if anybody had told him about the coup. But he had a very loyal officer. In fact, two loyal officers. One was Major Adamu Argungu, a military police attached to the Brigade of Guards. One was Lieutenant Colonel Garba, the CO of the Guards Battalion. I can't remember the nomenclature now, that was based in Abuja. They were feeding their brigade commander on all that was happening because there was a deliberate attempt to sideline him. Again, that officer, if he had not been there during the arrest at the villa and so on, there would have been a manifestation of his ineptitude, ineptness in the handling of affairs, that even a coup was being planned in Abuja, he was not aware. But he was fully aware, thanks to the loyalty of his officers. Kemi Peters. Colonel Kemi Peters was working in the GSQ attached to the office of General Dia. But he left to go to War College. And in War College, there are three types of tours, study tours that you undertake. One is the environmental study tour, which is done within Nigeria in states. The second tour is within the African country, which is called the African tour. The third tour is a tour that is being undertaken around the world. That is what we call the world tour. I will only touch on the environmental tour as it affected this officer. Kemi Peters happened to be among the officers that attended the tour in Enugu. Within that same period, the Chief of Army Staff Conference was to take place, but before then, there was this team that went for the tour. In fact, I think War College made the tour, because War College, when they make their itinerary, they always contact the various services so that there won't be any clash of program. They made the tour to end before the Chief of Army Staff Conference. A report came in Enugu that Kemi Peters was seen in Enugu. Maybe he was there to see to the arrangement of the elimination of the CNC. He must have been recruited by DIA. When this coup issue came, lists were compiled, his name was there. On hearing that, Kemi Peters ran out of this country. When he emerged later, a court-martial was set with Brigadier General Ajana and a coursemate of mine, Brigadier General Osebe, and others that I cannot remember the names. They investigated. They did all the things according to the rules and regulations, according to the evidence adduced. They did not find Kemi Peters guilty. They discharged him and acquitted him. What followed was the retirement of the entire people that conducted the court-martial. Their careers had gone. My Lord, General Abdusalam Abubakar, like Major Mustafa has said yesterday, there were certain indicators to show that he had an inkling about the planning of the coup. How did we come to know about this? After the arrest of General Dia, we all converged. When Dia defecated and we had to run away from the office, we now went inside the villa to meet the head of state. When we met the head of state, we were briefing him on how Dia was arrested under the mattress of his chief detail and so on and so forth. So we all laughed and so on and so forth. Then General Bamaiyi said that General Abdusalam Abubakar was not happy with him because he was complaining that he was being sidelined in this information, although he was to be the convening authority. And that he was even cited at Dia's house on the night of the NIA dinner, possibly to be there to await the news that the CNC had been wasted at the dinner. He would have been dragged into that coup, but the patience and the understanding of General Abacha was brought to bear that no, he should be left for now. That is why when Mustafa said that General Abdusalam was involved in several coups, there was that inkling. Another very important indicator that skipped my mind that is just came into me now. During the special investigation panel in Jos, the Chief of Army Staff sent money to the panel. That is why I want General Chris Garba to come and say whether I'm telling lies or not, to be distributed to the members of the SIP. And General Garba screamed. He said, this is bribe. Why is he sending the money to us when we had just called him for this? I'm not going to be a party to that. But the Provost Marshal, Brigadier General Yusuf Amoda Abubakar, carried the money and distributed it. They brought it to me and I refused. There is somebody sitting there. He's a Nigerian. He has the right to say whether I'm telling the truth. That's Alhaji Wada. Please stand up. He was there when they brought the money to my house and I rejected it. They took the money away. I said my rejection was predicated on the fact that I was not a member of the SIP. So I couldn't have collected the money. It was very unusual for a service chief to send welfare under any garb to a tri-service setup like the SIP. It has never happened before. My Lord, I will want to have a break.
Well, my Lord,
Can I have your permission to commandeer, sir? Thank you, sir. No, sir. It's not welfare, sir. It is life-saving.
Is that the only break you want?
Yes, my Lord. Maybe because brain is like engine. I don't want
if
it to
you want some few minutes, we can give you some few minutes.
I would want to stop here. Maybe questions that may arise may allow me now to correlate some of the...
Your counsel wanted to stop you. I said no, because this evidence plus Diaz's memo and evidence plus Al-Mustafa's memo and evidence will give us an insight. And it will be very, very useful for us. So I will ask our visiting reporters to make the text available to all counsel who want to cross-examine. If you can work the whole of tomorrow, make the text of his evidence available. Those who want it may go and pay and have it. So that when you are cross-examining, you know what we are talking about. Asking questions in the air. No, it's easier to read it. Well, if you want, it will be available. If you don't want, if you already have enough. So, we haven't started. No. Can we start on, can we continue on Monday? It's evidence.
May I seek your Lordship's permission, sir? Pardon, sir.
When he's away from the witness box, then we listen to you.
Okay, sir.
Do we say that this case stands adjourned till Monday?
Yes, my Lord.
Monday, then.
Exactly,
My Lord, may we request that if we could get a date for Wednesday, because
No. Why Wednesday?
My Lord, that's when General Assistant will be coming, so that we could...
Is he represented?
Pardon me, Lord?
Is he represented?
Here, yes.
All right. If he's Odia himself. Adisa, is he represented here?
Yes, Princess is represented.
If he's represented, he's here. So Monday.
I have to cross-examine him. That is why I'm making an application on Wednesday.
Today?
No.
He hasn't concluded his evidence. Keep your powder dry.
My Lord,
If you want in Latin, the moral armor.
my Lord, I think Monday will be a lot more convenient for us for continuation. Monday, sir.
Monday?
Yes, sir.
Monday. General, you continue on Monday. Then they will bring you more cold water if you need them. you continue on Monday.
Yes, my lord, but I want to make one small summation, sir. My lord, with due sense of responsibility, I want to say here that after my evidence